Do you feel like your business is running your life instead of the other way around? I'm Roy Castleman. I built multiple seven-figure companies, worked across continents, and coached high-performing entrepreneurs. But I've also been completely burnt out. At one point, I was barely seeing my daughter, drowning in stress, and one step away from walking away from it all. That's when I made a decision to build a business and a life that works for me. The journey became Elevate 360, a system to help business owners reclaim their time, find their energy again, and get back in control, without sacrificing growth. And this podcast, Power Movers, is where I share real stories behind that shift. Each week you'll hear from entrepreneurs, founders, and leaders who've walked through the fire and come out the other side with clarity, courage, and a system that works. If you're ready to build a business that gives you more life instead of taking it away, you're in the right place. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. I'm here with Trisha. Did I say that right?
Perfect. You got it.
I always get the stranger names on the podcast. Trisha really does such important work. We all suffer at some point in our life with burnout. Tell us a little bit more about what you're doing. What drives you? What's your passion?
Yeah. So nice to be here. And what drives me is helping people who have come to healthcare, whether it's mental health care or medical health care. We know one of the biggest things driving folks from healthcare is burnout. In my work in a large healthcare facility, I work as a Chief Wellbeing Officer, where I work with both leadership and frontline staff to identify the institutional or system level drivers. Those can be things like inefficiencies in the electronic health record, inequities in job opportunities, that could be lack of community. Looking at those and then addressing them, because that's again what really drives burnout. And then I've started my own company to help leaders across the organization that may not have chief wellbeing officers do the same work.
So that's starting your own company. Tell me a bit about that. How was that? There's an excitement to it, isn't there?
Absolutely. And a lot of fear. I think that starting your own company, there's something a bit scary stepping into something you've never done before. I think what has sustained me in this process and prevented me from throwing in the towel is I absolutely love what I do. And I feel really passionate about the need for us to figure this burnout thing because we all use healthcare. We need it. We need good doctors, good nurses, good therapists, and they're leaving healthcare in droves. One of the biggest things is burnout. People are saying, I can't spend my life chronically tired, not having enough time to spend with my families, and not finding passion in my work anymore. And
Now you're sitting in both camps. You're sitting in my camp as well. Business owners, entrepreneurs, they're my people, right? You sit in this space because you see a problem in the world and you can go and fix it, right? And that's what gets you out of bed in the morning. When you have those conversations with people and their eyes light up and you fix their problem, there's nothing more rewarding. There just isn't, right? Not for me anyway. And we go into this because we want to fix the problem. We want freedom, right? We want the freedom to be in control of our own lives. And as we go through that process, there's a 60% burnout rate in small business owners worldwide, right, as of last year. And as we go through that process, we build ourselves into a prison. We become the prisoner of our own success. The more successful you are, and that just brings its own burnout and its own challenges. And I'm interested to understand from you, because healthcare is probably a higher level of burnout, but what are the tips and tricks and tools that you tell people to look towards to help them with this?
yeah. And I think anytime there's an industry where a lot of your work surrounds working with people, that's where we see high burnout. It's the human labor of the work that we do, that human connection. And that's not to say that there aren't pieces like business side of running a business, but I think that can be a part of it. One of the things that I teach leaders is knowing what your professional values are and letting those be your North Star. What are the things that are most important to you? There are going to be times where you have to make decisions. And if you don't really know what your professional values are, you can fall into the trap of making decisions where I feel like I'm selling my soul to the devil now, just to
Right.
keep this going versus why did I enter this field in the first place? And having a willingness to have that vulnerability of looking inward and saying, what's really sustaining me at this point and what's draining me out? What can I get rid of? What can I keep? That's a big part of the work that I do, self-reflection of where people are at and thinking about what is it that's driving me to that place of burnout and what are solutions that exist? Is it about delegation? Is it about scaling back? Is it about pivoting because this isn't serving me anymore? Those hard questions versus digging your heels in and saying, I'm going to stick with it if it isn't necessarily giving you that passion anymore. And that's not easy. When you
Right.
create your own business, it's your baby. You want to keep it alive and
For sure, it is your baby. I spoke to someone this morning, and that resonates quite well because one of the things that we see is we start a business with core values. And people don't really talk about the core values in the right way, I don't believe. They're just letters and words on the wall. And if you have your core values and the business has its core values, this chap I spoke to this morning, he'd been bought out by a venture capitalist and the core values were different. And now he's got high blood pressure. Now he's got challenges. And this really can be such a challenge. Oh no. I lost you there for a second.
I see you now.
Yeah, we're back. The internet's been unstable. Give it a second. You're back?
Yeah, I can see you just
Yeah.
fine.
Give me a second. I'll chop this out. We're back. We're all good. All right, so let's go. As I say, the process of understanding what's valuable to you, because if you can't align with that, the journey into stress, the journey into depression. For me, I found in my journey, I went down this hole and I didn't realize I was going down a hole until I was in it. How do you give people the opportunity to self-reflect, but to keep themselves safe?
I think it's that insight and asking yourself the questions about what's meaningful to you. What are the things in your life that you value the most? And are there things getting in the way of that? For some people, their career is so important to their identity, but there are other aspects of our identity that are really important, whether we're a parent or a sibling or a daughter or a son, or maybe we're part of a community. Many people find when they get into that place of burnout, they're sacrificing those other identities that they hold in service of their work, which for many people, they may have gone into it because they were really passionate about it. And that passion is now being drained because it's taking all of their energy and taking them away from what it is that is important to them in life. Like they don't have that balance. I think it's all about balance. There's this tool online, it's called the Wheel of Life, and it asks you to identify what are the aspects of your life that are really important. Is it spirituality? Is it community? Is it family? Is it physical health? And you rate how important each of those are. And then you rate to what extent you're giving the amount of time you would like to. And the idea is it graphs it for you. And many times it's this really spiky, it's a circle to start with, but then it's really spiky depending on how much energy you're giving to various parts of your life. And the idea is you can't drive a car with a spiky wheel. It has to be rounded. And so I encourage people to do that exercise. Again, it's called the Wheel of Life. It's free. I think it's a nice reflection of around how am I spending my time? Because as a psychologist, I've worked with many people that are near the end of their life and they're asking themselves, what am I leaving behind? What is important to me? What are my regrets? Oftentimes, I focused on the things that were not important to me. And so, a big piece of it is knowing what those things are and being really honest about what your values are, not just goals. Sometimes people identify goals instead of values. I want to make a good income so I can provide for my family. What your value is, you want to be a good provider. And can you do that in a way that doesn't sacrifice your well being and spending time with your family?
That's such a common challenge in the business owner space because we create the business, we're trying to provide for our family, and we then end up spending 14 hours a day, 7 days a week providing, and we lose touch with why it's important. They want us, they want our presence, they want our ability to spend time with them, and that isn't as valuable as the £1 million that's in the bank. So you mentioned something, community. We're in a strange world at the moment, right? We went to COVID, everyone got disconnected, managed to almost connect with themselves a bit more. Now we have AI, we have all of these different things, and community has got less and less important. And I'm seeing a change in that now. I'm seeing people saying, listen, we want community again. I saw some studies where people that live in a community that's connected live longer. So, what are your thoughts around that?
Yeah, that research is spot on. And I think COVID was a great example of the importance of having community because people learn to connect in different ways. And I think there was a lot of introspection that happened during COVID where people are like, it's me. This is my community right now. Because of COVID, life is too short. Why am I wasting my time in this job I'm in that's completely burning me out? I'm not happy. I'm cranky all the time. That's a sidebar. But yeah, community and social connection is so important because it gives us a sense of being part of something bigger. But when we connect with others, we just feel better. When we connect with a community that's healthy for us, just being part of something larger, it has a lot of evolutionary basis. We survive if we're part of a community, but it boosts that connection that we need as humans. Like we are social animals and we need that connection. One of the things I really stress with the organizations I work with is that you have to create opportunity for community. Potlucks and other types of activities teams can engage in is really important, but also opportunities to have moments in a team meeting where people are connecting with each other as humans, not just you do this role and I do this role. And now we're talking about how we come together to get the job done, but giving people the opportunity to remember that they're working with humans that have dreams and hopes and failures and successes. And so that can look like many different things. There's research that shows just having one person in the workplace that you consider a good friend or a confidant is the difference between going to work and being engaged and not. And so thinking about the entrepreneurial space in small business, thinking about how do you do that? Do you connect with other small business owners where you have a place to say, this is what I'm dealing with? Like, how about you? How are you coping with this? And in connecting with people that are having similar lived experiences so that you feel this sense of, okay, this is normal. I'm feeling this way. That there are times when I'm like, is this worth it? But also so that you have space to problem solve and hear from other people how they're managing it.
Yeah. Things that I've learned about entrepreneurship over the years. You go into it for freedom, you end up in a prison. It's
Mhm.
so much more lonely than you think it is, right? Because you just can't connect with people. People don't have the same passion. Your staff are not on the same level as you are. You're always going to have this divide. So, getting yourself a community of people that are like-minded is so important. So, as you go through, you mentioned something there before you stepped out into your own business. Run us through some of what that looked like. You were already in this space of working as a psychologist, understanding the stuff, but it's so easy when we know the things to still get caught in them.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. Like, do as I say, not as I do. Absolutely.
Yeah.
When I was a manager and in a leadership role for 9 years, managing people during COVID, I was in that space of self-reflection where I was like, wow, life is really fragile. Nobody is guaranteed tomorrow. What am I doing? I'm miserable. I'm starting to get frustrated with the people I work with where they'll ask for something super reasonable, super simple, and I'll be like, why are they reaching out to me? I was just in a dark place in my burnout, which led me to the current position I'm in as the Chief Wellbeing Officer. Because of that, I think I'm a little more attuned to being aware of my burnout in this role. I've never experienced burnout yet. It's been 3 years. I haven't experienced burnout because I think I'm doing things that are aligned with my passion. And I've gotten good at strategic no's. When people ask things of me, potentially be something I enjoy, but are just not within my bandwidth, I've gotten really good at saying, I wish I could, but I can't, but let me connect you to someone who could. And also just assessing what my energy is and really being aware of how I'm. So I created my consultation business not because I was burnt out from my chief well-being role, but really because I saw the gap in healthcare and other organizations. Like much of what I teach, healthcare leaders can apply to businesses how we
Yeah.
think about the work we do. And again, going back to that humanity piece, if we remember that we're working with people and we treat them in that way, engagement goes up, productivity goes up, retention goes up, because people are like, oh, I feel valued by my organization.
Yeah.
My own burnout led me to shifting gears from being a manager. Being a manager is really hard. Being a manager during current times is extremely
Yeah.
stressful. So that's part of why I like working with leaders too, is to acknowledge that, but also help them find a way forward to manage the stress and hopefully get to a place where they're not feeling such a high level of burnout.
One of the things that keeps cropping up for me, especially in the last 3 or 4 months, is business owners telling me that they feel guilty they're not doing enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then I dig into it and I find out what they're doing, and they're doing way more than they should be. This is about delegating the right way. Yeah, I used to do this. I would sit in a room and listen to 15 people at once, and then I would jump in to try and help them. And it's always done from that place of I want to help, I just want to be supportive. And all I was doing was killing their own productivity because I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay, yeah, Mary, you could do it this way, and that would be really cool. So now I'm knocking her confidence down because she's like, oh, shit, I had this. Yeah. Having that understanding and saying, okay, no, let the people do what they need to do. Understand that they're probably not going to do it at the same level I am. And 70% is perfect because they haven't got my drive. They haven't got my experience. They haven't done the things that I've done. And I shouldn't expect them to perform at the same level. And then I shouldn't belittle them. And that literally changed the entire way I was doing things.
And what a gift you gave to those people too, by not only empowering them, but it was you extending trust. I trust that you can do this job. They may not do it at the same level as you. One of my favorite mentors told me once, you will always be disappointed if you take your own standards for yourself and apply them to others. You will always be disappointed.
Love that. I
So
love
if you
it.
want a life of disappointment, stick with that, but also maybe give people the opportunity to do it in their own way. Like you can't control everything. That was a big lesson for me. And when I finally let go, even in my own home, when my husband does laundry, I'm like, oh, not how I would have done it, but it's done. I've got to genuinely let that go. I see a lot of people want to have that control because it has to be done a certain way, or they want to step in and help their staff and they want to do it for them. You're actually preventing them from growing, and you're also inadvertently sending the message that you don't trust them to do it. And that can really impact how they show up in the workplace. Yeah.
Yeah. I literally went from working 14 hours a day, 7 days a week in the same organizations, 3 IT companies, to working 5 hours per week. Yeah, by letting the people that were able to do the things that they were able to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's so much power. It's so empowering that to sit back and now I can actually go, we start a business. You said, yeah, it's your baby. And that's such, yeah, that just speaks to me because it is, right? You birth this creation. Yeah, and you go through the terrible twos, you're up all night doing things, and then you go through the next stage. I remember when my daughter was younger, it's like, okay, so now we've got the terrible twos, then we've got, it's not really very good for me at the moment, spending some time with her, but there's no interaction here. Yeah, and then you go, now we get to the teenage years, and suddenly you are the devil. There's nothing you can do. But what you're doing with your company is you're building your company in such a way that your company can go out into the world and serve its mission, which means you mustn't be holding its hand. Right? Yeah. I tried to sell my IT group probably in 2018. And the requirement was that I stayed there for 3 years. And that was a real eye opener for me. So why do they need me to stay there? Yeah. And then I looked at myself and I was like, okay, this is not running by itself. It needs to run by itself. Yeah, this is what we're doing. We want, yeah, I don't know whether you're a visionary or whether you're an integrator, what your skill set is, but most of us go in and we love the building process. We love the setting it up. We love putting it together. Yeah, and then somebody else should run it because I'm just not that good at that. Yeah, I'm good at the ideas and the creative and getting it going. So, yeah, how long has your company been going?
Oh, less than a year. It's in its infancy. Yep. A
Yeah.
lot of sleepless nights and things like that. And I really liked what you were saying about how people think that they're not doing enough. And I definitely experienced that. And I think that I'm only on LinkedIn, I'm not on other social medias, but I see all these things people are doing, and I'm like, I'm not doing enough. I need to be. And that's where I come back to my values. I'm like, okay, my value is to get into the hands of leaders in healthcare the skills to help them drive burnout. Now, maybe if I do more posts or do more X, Y, and Z, that'll allow me to do that. But my end goal isn't to build my audience, have fame and fortune. My goal is really to help healthcare systems address burnout in clinicians. So that has been helpful. It's been humbling, but I think that's been helpful too, to remember I'm not going to be able to do it all.
Mhm.
I'm going to burn out doing it all. Now we're in that cycle I'm trying to help other people get out
Yeah.
of.
Yeah.
It's not great optics.
Yeah, that's such a good reframe because, yeah, one of the big things, probably the fifth or sixth thing that I've had feedback on is that we look at other people and compare ourselves.
Definitely.
Yeah, and there's this compare. Why can he make? He's 25 years old and he's making £5 million already, and he's only been going for a month. Well, what am I doing? Why am I not so good? Yeah, and we all come into this with our different experiences and our speed and the cadence and what we want to do. Trying to do too much just means you're back to 14-hour days. Well,
Exactly. It's that prison. You
yeah.
built a business for freedom and now you're back in that prison. Yeah.
So let's transition to one of my own favorite subjects, which is AI. Yeah, what's your view on it? You're in healthcare, so it's more difficult. Where do you sit with it?
I see AI as a useful tool when used judiciously. There are many spaces where I think AI can actually help advance the mission of healthcare. That's a space I feel most comfortable talking about it, but using AI to transcribe sessions with your doctor so that your doctor can be sitting in front of you, making eye
Brilliant, huh?
contact, then sitting behind a keyboard trying to capture everything you're saying. So I think that is a very good business case for AI. I think the piece that needs to be there, are we reviewing the notes to make sure they're accurate? And are we still injecting our training, our clinical judgment, our expertise when we're using AI versus we're going to let AI do the job? Like we're using it as a tool to expedite processes and increase efficiency of the day-to-day that we do. Do I think that it makes sense in all spaces? No. It's a tool that, when implemented judiciously with guardrails, it can be helpful. I use it when I'm creating social media. These are the topics I want to talk about, the resources I want you to use. Give me 20 topics I could talk about in Reels on LinkedIn. It does it more quickly than I'm taking my expertise and building out the content. That's where I can see
Yeah.
AI in that function.
Of AI as a 60% tool. And the key component is you need to bookend it with human, right?
Absolutely.
I feel that AI is moving so fast, we need to learn how to use it, right?
Yes. Yes.
Because what I learned last week is different from what I'll learn next week, and it's the process of learning. And I have this methodology that I work with, which is AI helps you think outside your brain.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like that.
Yeah, and how that comes about, I'm busy writing a book, and I have never been able to handwrite or type. I don't touch type. I talk to text. Great. It's the godsend for me. One that actually understands my dulcet tones, understands my accent, gets it. That was a game changer for me. I talked in 30 of my stories of my journey, and they put that all together for me. Okay, so now let's create that into a writing voice. So it's me, but it's a writing voice, right? So I did that, and I read it, and it was okay. Then I started doing some work with a guy called Dennis Ross. Dennis Ross is a ghostwriter. What a man, right? The way, the turn of phrase, the way he talks, the way he brings things across. I need to do that. I need to go and learn that skill. But we don't need to learn the skills anymore. I took his methodology, I put it into my Claude and said, create me a skill with this. And it created me a skill. So now I can take my workings and I can apply the AI skill of Dennis Ross to it. And it's still using my voice, but applying these other these other ways of doing it. And it resonated quite well. And this is what we can do across the board. You don't need to be an accountant. You don't need to be a lawyer. All these things. You can think outside your brain. So
So
the human experience is elevating. A year ago, I would have done 6 years worth of work in 6 months. Now I'm doing 6 years worth of work in 3 days. I finish this podcast, I jump it into automations. At the end of 17 or 18 minutes, The whole thing is automated out to posting, out to shorts. It's done so much more efficiently than I would have done it. That would have taken me 2.5, 3 days to do in the past. That gives me more chance to be human.
Exactly.
The step-by-steps that I don't need to do, I don't do them. But how do we become more human? How do we have more conversations with people? And I think that's the opportunity that people are not seeing with AI. It's how do I think about this in a different way?
Absolutely. And when I talk with people around their burnout, again, in healthcare, many of them say, what burns me out is I'm doing things that I didn't train to do, like documentation and entering consults and working with insurance companies. Like I know how to do those things, but what I trained to do was how to treat people, to sit with patients, to have empathy, to listen to their story and help them get better. I'm doing less and less of that. In healthcare, a huge piece of burnout is I signed up to work with people and I'm doing less and less of that. AI giving us more time to do that. AI is doing those tasks that take us away from the work that gives us passion and allows us to connect with other human beings. It's allowing us to build that community with
Okay.
each other more than 5 years ago. I agree. It's advancing so quickly. I use Claude too, and looking at what I've plugged into it maybe 6 months ago and seeing how it's learned.
Yeah.
This is amazing. It's a little scary, but it's
Yeah,
amazing.
so then think, okay, where's it going to be in 3 months' time? And so we go into this new space and we go into this new world. And if we can honor the fact that we're humans and we don't need to do as much, I think there's a much better future that's out there.
I agree.
So we're going to wrap up in a little bit. What are your final thoughts? If you're a stressed out healthcare person, a stressed out business owner, what is one thing that you could do for yourself that would really help?
I'm going to think of two, if that's okay.
You can have two.
Okay. The first is think of what your values are. There are a lot of tools online that can help you identify your values, like
Yeah.
not your goals, not your priorities, not your demands. What are your values? And think, am I living consistently with them? Because we know when we're not living consistently with our values, depression, anxiety, negative affect, all of those things go up. The second is, I think there's a very easy framework people can use to evaluate their day and asking themselves, what is one thing that I'm going to stop doing because it's not bringing anything to my life? I now have to be on site for my job on the days that I work, not my business, but my other job. I was really struggling to clean my house once a week. And I got to the point where I was like, one thing I'm going to get rid of, I'm going to clean every other week. I'm going to get rid of that once a week cleaning. Like the house is not going to fall apart if I clean it every other week. The second is, what can I delegate? What are the
Yeah.
things that I'm holding on to that I feel like I have to do because I'm going to do it the best way and no one else can do it the way I want it to be done? How can I let go of that and delegate? And the third is, what can I do less of? But my friend gave me a really good example of a stop doing. She has her daughter pick out her outfits now in the morning. Her daughter's 13 and she has very
Awesome.
good fashion sense. And so I'm going to stop picking out my outfits. I'm going to have my daughter pick out my outfits for me. So I think there can be other things where you're like, I'm either going to delegate this or I'm going to stop doing it. It's just going to work out. I'm going to figure it out what it is. So I would encourage people to do that once a week. And I think we as humans will find that we're probably doing a lot of things that either we've just been in the habit of doing or we think there's an expectation we do it. And this applies to work too. When we're at work, what are one thing I can do less of, one thing I can stop doing, and one thing I can delegate?
Thank you very much for joining us, and I wish you the
Absolutely.
very best with your business going forward. I'm sure you're going to be very successful. And maybe you can come back on in 6 months' time and tell us how you've made your millions or helped your millions of people.
I would love that. Thank you so much for talking with me today.
Too. Have a great day.
You too.
Thanks for listening to Power Movers, the podcast from All the Power, where our mission is to help business owners reclaim their time, reset their energy, and live the life they love. If this episode sparked something for you, your next step is simple. Take the fit check at allthepower.co.uk. It's a short clarity tool that helps you see where you are, what's getting in the way, and what might be possible if you have the right system. When you're ready, come and join the tribe. Power Movers start with our signature framework called Elevate 360, a system built to help you escape survival mode, create structure, and move forward with power. Just remember, everything we share here is based on real stories, experience, and frameworks. It's not personal business advice. Always speak to a coach or advisor before making big decisions. Because in the end, it's about more than business. It's about building a life you actually love. I'm Roy Castleman, and I'll see you in the next episode.